Thearmonwigginsshow, where it's a lot going on. We discuss music, drama, celebrity gossip, pop culture, and everything in the entertainment world.
That's how we already know.
Stay tuned right here as we spill the tea, sip some tea, all raw for your enjoyment. Now grab your cup and buckle up.
Ooh, okay, so listen. Welcome to the Armand Wiggins Show. We are live with a special guest. This is our second time. I know you guys probably got this notification a million times, but listen, we have Dr. Miami in the building. You guys all know him, celebrity plastic surgeon to the stars, to all of Hollywood pretty much. And he's here with us to share some knowledge on the BBL, lipo, and what's the nose job called, Dr. Miami?
Rhinoplasty.
Rhinoplasty. And Dr. Miami says that he is here and willing to take some phone calls. So the lines will be open. Okay? So as much as technology is on our side, we have Dr. Miami here to answer some questions that you guys want to know. All right, so let's just get right into it since this is our second time, Dr. Miami. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I love that introduction. Thank you. Yes, I do a lot of butt lifts. I love butts. I love making them bigger and juicy and round. That's my thing.
So how
I'm a butt billionaire.
Right. Well, how does a person get into like doing something like that? Is that something that you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, pretty much. But the road is long. I mean, you know, it's I'm a real doctor. You know, college, medical school, surgical residency, plastic surgery residency, aesthetic fellowship, private practice for 17 years. It's a long process. You got to have a real dream and a real desire to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like something you just pick up as a hobby, you know?
And it's a lot of work. And so,
yeah.
And it's very dangerous. And so you actually started the World Association of Gluten Surgeons.
Yep. A World Association of Gluteal Surgeons, because, you know, the Brazilian butt lift, it's a fantastic operation. I mean, it's like magic. You know, you take the fat from the areas of the body you don't want it, you know, your love handles, your back, your arms, your legs. You take that fat out, so those areas get skinnier. Then you put the fat in the butt, which gets wider and rounder and fuller. So it's like a 2-for-1 kind of deal. And it really changes a person's shape from being square to being curvy. Now, obviously, the operations become very, very, very popular. And the demand for it from the public has outstripped the supply of surgeons that know how to do it safely. Plus, you know, the academic, the plastic surgeons that are in charge of, like, you know, researching how the operation should be done most safely really didn't have a chance to kind of research it enough to catch up and figure out which are the safer ways to do it. So, unfortunately, I'm sure you've seen stuff in the press and in the papers and on TV about people who've died having fat injected into the butt. Obviously, people can die in any surgery, but in the Brazilian butt lift specifically, the risk of catastrophe is probably higher than almost any other plastic surgery operation. So I'm trying to get the word out to the public and to educate other surgeons how to do the operation in the safest way possible. And so that's what the organization is all about.
And so what is the safest way possible?
Okay.
Yeah, tell us.
Okay, so the liposuction is not the dangerous part of the operation. It's when you inject the fat. If you inject it into the wrong place, if you inject it into the muscle of the butt, okay, or you inject it underneath the muscle of the butt, there are these very large veins that can easily tear, and fat can go into the vein and then travel to the heart and lungs, and you die. Like, people die within like an hour, right there, boom, on the tape. Yeah, it's pretty tragic. Now, the key thing is to make sure that the surgeon injects the fat under the skin on top of the muscle, nowhere near those very, very important veins. And so the technique involves, you know, where you put the cannula, how sharp the tip of the cannula is. It has to be fairly blunt, you know, not too sharp so it doesn't penetrate the veins. The force you use when you inject the fat, how much fat you inject, where you inject, all those needs to be trained and need to be done in a safe way. So it's important that not only surgeons know how to do it right, but that the public, people who go to ask for this operation, ask the questions, you know, about the technique that's going to be used to inject the fat. You know, where's the fat going to be injected? If the surgeon says, I'm going to inject it into the muscle, then just don't go there. Just go someplace else.
I have a question about that. Now, what is it? Is it safer to get that kind of procedure done here in the States, or like versus going like Brazil or Mexico or like Dominican Republic?
So that's a difficult question to answer because there are great surgeons all over the world. There's fantastic surgeons in Colombia, in Venezuela, in the Dominican Republic, in Mexico. But, if there's 1,000 surgeons, maybe there's 20 that are fantastic, but the rest might not be so great, might not be so fantastic. So, I wouldn't just make a blanket statement and say everybody in Colombia doesn't know what they're doing. That's not true at all.
Okay.
But if you're coming from another country and you don't speak the language and you don't know the lay of the land, how do you judge their credentials if you're not from that place? And that's where the tricky thing is, and that's where people get into trouble, is they go to somebody in another country because maybe a friend of theirs went there, but that's really not a good enough, that's not doing your homework. You know what I mean? You need to really know who is going to have your life in their hands. Right. In the U.S., everything is a lot more regulated. There's a lot more information you can get about the surgeon. There's a lot more people that you might know that have actually had surgery with the surgeon. So in those ways, it makes it safer. But it's not the country that makes it unsafe. It's who you actually choose to be your surgeon, right?
Yeah, that actually makes sense. And so you do a lot of different celebrity clients, from A-listers to reality stars.
A-listers to half the cast of Teen Mom.
Okay, so
half the cast of Bad Girls Club. I got a whole Bad Girls Club in the office.
Now, speaking of Bad Girls Club, you did what's her name? I'm posting them up on the screen. You'll probably
half of them.
You did the Victor twins. Now tell me about the Victor twins, because they loved you. And
I love the Victor twins, even though they put a video on YouTube saying Dr. Miami plastic surgery nightmare. Look. Those girls are funny,
Okay.
And they actually look pretty good. If you look at their before pictures and their after pictures, they look pretty damn good compared to before. But they had, like, I guess the person who was taking care of them, one of the nurses that was staying with them at the hotel,
Karen,
they didn't
nurse
belong
Karen.
with her. Karen, Karen stole money from my ATM. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea.
Okay.
But that's on them for who they.
Well, because they liked you at first, and then they didn't like you. Now they're saying that they gave them a botch job, and I guess apparently they tried to go to botch, but they weren't that bad.
They go to botch, and botch is like, you're not botched enough.
Yeah, you're not botched enough. So, you get that, though?
What?
Do you get that? Sometimes people just decide maybe like, oh, I don't really want this, or it wasn't what I expected, so then
it's
trying
more,
to blame you.
More about expectations. Look, any surgery, any surgeon will need to revise their own work at least 10% of the time. And I'm not talking about major revisions, but little tweaks here and there, because when you're operating on a person of flesh and blood, there's so many variables that you can't control. It may look perfect in the operating room, but you're not molding somebody out of clay or concrete where it just stays like that. Right. There's going to be swelling. There's going to be movement. Everybody heals differently. Some people scar better than others. And those are things you can't control. And then you wait and see how it heals. And then I always invite people back, if you want to tweak this here and there, it's no big deal. And most surgeons don't even charge for that kind of thing. So it's not unusual at all for somebody to come back for a little touch-up. But, if you go onto YouTube and say it was a nightmare and botched, don't expect your surgeon to be, like, super smiley. Although I love them. I'd take them back in a heartbeat. I thought they were really funny, but hey.
And then you did Mariah Lynn, too?
You can't make everybody 100% happy, no matter who you are.
You did Mariah Lynn, too, right? From Love and Hip Hop? Yeah. Did you do her boobs or butt?
I did her boobs. Did you hear her new song? I don't want no small dick guy.
No, I didn't hear that.
Listen, it's about time, I mean, women are held to a very tough, high beauty standard. I think it's about time men be held to the same microscope. Not
to be like a complete perv or anything, but when you see these girls' booties and boobs, like, does it do anything for you? I know you're married, but is it kind of like weird? You
happily married
all day?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a human being. I got testosterone. I mean, I can't say that the thought never occurs to me. However, I'm a mature adult in control of my, thoughts and emotions. So right. I just focus all that energy onto my wife.
Right.
To her benefit, I hope.
Do you ever like have the models come over, or have your mom or your wife come look at them, or does she ever
No,
does she
no.
ever, does she ever want to see
No,
what you've done?
we're not. That's not our. It's not our. No.
Just ask you.
Good
All
question.
right.
It's a good question.
Okay, so you have such a great personality. Do you think that sometimes people might be afraid to like work with you because they may think that you're just a social media doctor?
I mean, it's possible, but most of the time, being on social media is a benefit because you get to know, like, people get to know me before they actually meet me. So they like you, they know I'm married, they know I got kids, they see my life from when I wake up in the morning till I go to sleep. So they feel comfortable, So I think that helps a lot. When you in the past, before social media, you went to a doctor, all you knew about him was what he put on the web,
right?
And the degrees on the wall, and it's sometimes difficult to break the ice, or sometimes the doctor just doesn't act like a human being. They just act kind of like a professor, like I know better and just do what I say, which I don't think is a great way to begin a doctor-patient relationship. The social media helps break the ice so that when people come in, they feel comfortable talking to me. And plastic surgery is a very intimate relationship. You know what I mean? It's like you're coming in and you're bearing your soul. Think about how much courage it takes to pick up the phone or make an appointment and come in to talk to somebody about your body, and you're standing there completely naked talking about your flaws. I mean,
yeah,
that's a pretty intimate thing. And so if you don't feel comfortable with the person, it's hard to do that.
Okay, and I want to talk about. You also did Sky. Sky's you did her vaginal rejuvenation.
I love Sky. Sky's one of my favorite all time. I did everything for Sky.
Oh, you did everything for her. Boob, everything.
Yeah, boob, butt, I think labiaplasty, maybe even. Yeah.
Okay, so what's labiaplasty? What is that?
So labiaplasty is, the I want to say vagina. It's not vagina, but the perineal area, the genital region of a woman.
Okay.
You have a labia majora, which is like the outer lips, and then you have the labia minora, which are the inner lips.
Okay.
And if you watch enough porn, you'll know that the ideal for that area is where the labia majora is kind of full and closes over the labia minora with nothing sticking out, like no extra. Women call it like rose feet, no extra like pieces.
Like it's been beat up.
Like it's been beat, yeah, okay. Or it's been stretched out. But the truth is that's in 99% of women that have that, it has nothing to do with getting beat up. It's just that genetically, that's just how it grows.
Right.
Sometimes childbirth can also affect it because, the blood flow there gets real intense and it can stretch it out somewhat. And so, women are uncomfortable, showing their partners that part of their body. They're not as confident with it. Sometimes it actually hurts. If the skin sticks out enough, it can actually rub together and get dry and uncomfortable. And so it's an issue. So the operation involves just basically trimming it back, tucking everything in, sometimes adding a little bit of fat into the labia majora so it looks full, and better than new.
Okay. And so, I have a lot of women that are of a particular age. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
So is there a age limit on where you won't do that kind of procedure? Because it seems like...
in my own practice, my age limit is 50. But that's because, I'm super ultra conservative when it comes to the safety of my patients. No one's ever died in my practice. We are like crazy about medical clearance and checking for blood clots and all kinds of stuff, anemia. So, and I find that women over 50, they tend to have like other medical issues like heart conditions and things like that may be undiagnosed. And you definitely don't want to diagnose something like that on the table. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Don't have an arrhythmia or God forbid a heart attack or something. So, and because I practice in my own operating rooms, I'm responsible for everything A to Z. Now, women can have this operation up until, at any age, as long as they're healthy enough and as long as the facility that they're operating in is prepared to handle that age group. So like a hospital setting might be better for somebody who's 70 years old or 65. Okay. But again, I have my own operating rooms in my own surgery center, and our cutoff is age 50 for all the operations I do. And again, it's just a limitation that my anesthesia department and myself have decided to keep us as safe as possible.
So if a woman that was over 50, she wanted something from you.
She
Is
can
there
put me
anything you can give her? Like there's no
Botox.
recommendation. Botox.
Botox,
Okay.
fillers, all that kind of stuff that's non-surgical. And then I recommend other doctors in the area that do patients in that age group, usually in hospital settings and things like that.
Okay. And now we talked a little bit about K Michelle yesterday. So can you tell us about like how some of these celebrities are going out and basically saying they're against the butt implants or the BBL? Like, what do you say to those different celebrities?
I mean, I think that most of them are. I don't think people are necessarily against changing bodies, but I think they're concerned about people doing it safely. And there's been a lot of deaths, across the country of people who get not fat injected into their butt, but silicone or Fix-A-Flat or some who knows what in hotel rooms or in hair salons by a friend of a friend or something, and that's very, very dangerous. And she's right to speak out about that. And I feel like because unless you study the issue and you know the difference between fat transfer, silicone injections, and actual implants, it can be very confusing, and it's all kind of lumped into one thing.
Well,
but they're very different procedures.
60 seconds, tell us what's the difference, because a lot of us don't know that.
Okay, so butt implant is an actual implant, like a breast implant. It's a hard piece of silicone or soft piece of silicone. There's actually, you make a big incision, you open up like a breast implant, you shove in the implant, you sew it in, and you bring it back together. You end up with a scar kind of in the middle of your butt cheeks and your butt crack that's hard to see. And then that gives you projection in the center of the butt. So
do you do
that? That was the first type of butt augmentation that was available. And that's been around for 25 or 30 years. Okay. The problem with that operation is that there's a 30% complication rate because the butt, you sit on it, it moves a little bit, it can get infected. It's a little painful because it's a hard kind of piece of silicone. Mm-hmm. So for 70% of people that have the operation, great. 30% end up having them removed at some point. Okay, that's the butt implant. Now the fat transfer is the one I talked about before, where you take fat from the other areas of the body and put it in your butt. In my opinion, it's the best one because it's soft, it's supple, it's your own fat. There's no chance of rejection. There's a very, very low infection rate, like less than 1,000th of a percent. But if you inject the fat in the wrong place and the guy doesn't know what he's doing, that could kill you, right?
Okay.
That's the danger there. The third way is just what we call, butt injections of silicone or macrolane or Fix-A-Flat or anything that people decide to put into a needle and just inject. And that's just done, with a syringe and a needle with person awake, just shove it in the butt, inject it, and then see what happens.
I had a friend die from that.
That's tragic.
Yeah, he died.
Because the needle can go into the veins. The needle can go, when you inject in with a needle and you don't know where you're putting that needle, it can go into the bloodstream, and that you don't want silicone in your bloodstream, because then it clogs your arteries in your heart or your lungs and you could die. So I'm sorry for your friend.
Yeah, I know a lot of transgenders have gotten that done.
Because it's the reason is because, first of all, it's cheaper than surgery. You don't need to see a doctor per se, and there's always like a friend of a friend that did it and everything went fine, which is great. Let's say 50% of the time people do those injections in a hair salon or in a hotel room, it goes fine, right? Mm-hmm. But the other 50% of the time, it doesn't go fine. And so if you don't hear about the other 50%, you only hear about the successful ones, you may think that it's safe, but it really isn't, so you got to be careful with that.
Now, let me ask you another question. Is there a such thing of being too young to get these kind of different surgeries?
I think that like a Brazilian butt lift, I'd wait till you're 18. If nothing else, just to wait till you're a fully developed human, till you're an adult size,
Okay.
Because if you're still growing, I think that's a mistake to start changing the shape of your body. The only exception is that like women or girls that have very, very large breasts as teenagers, there's no reason to make them suffer. You can definitely do a breast reduction at that age, or a rhinoplasty. If a teenage boy or girl is really self-conscious about it, you can do a rhinoplasty at age 16 or so, or 15 even. But everything else should wait till at least you're 18, and for most people, early 20s.
Now, do you do full-on sex changes as well, or no?
No, I don't, but I have a colleague that does fantastic ones. And there's a guy across the street that's been there for about 30, 40 years that does it. But I don't do any transgender surgery. I just stay in my lane, get good at the
Right.
3 or 4 operations that I do.
Okay. There's men now getting lipo. Do you do that?
Yes.
So what
Yes.
is lipo and what is male lipo?
So the evolution of my practice, like most plastic surgeons, you start out and you kind of do everything: facelifts, rhinoplasty, tummy tucks, whatever, and then you slowly get into a groove of what you like to do the most of. And for me, it's just the 4 or 5 operations, and it happens to be 95% women. I do liposuction on men, but I prefer to do the operations that I do now, which are the mommy makeovers type stuff.
Okay.
But I won't say I don't ever do men. I do, but my schedule is booked, and it's just by the nature of how my practice runs. We don't get as many male inquiries as we do women. So I have colleagues in town that I refer that stuff out to. But yeah, sure, I know how to make a good 6-pack.
So you never did lipo on Drake?
No comment.
Okay. Right. All right. I have another question. This was sent in from one of my subscribers, okay? And they wanted to ask you. They said this comes from Miriam out of New York City. She says Kanye West put on his album cover a picture of the surgeon that performed his mom's surgery, which eventually led to her death. This made the surgeon speak out, and he basically stated the cause of Dondra's death was secondary to the aftercare staff she hired and unnoticed post-operative complications. With many of the stories on the internet involving aftercare, caregivers and post-op complications, and the increased concerns of BBL-related mortality rates, should mandates for safer practice of the BBL procedure be changed to require at least 24 hours observation care from the surgeon's practice?
Yeah, you know what? That is a great, and wow, that's a really thoughtful question. And I agree, yeah. So in our practice, what we require is 72 hours with a trained caregiver. So it doesn't have to be an RN. It can be a CNA. It has to be somebody who can monitor the patient and let us know if anything's happening. But let me break down her statement to one part at a time. So with Kanye West's mother, the issue was that she had pre-existing health conditions, and when she went to surgeons to get to ask for surgery, a few of them turned her away because of that. Again, it goes back to what we talked about before. Like, I don't operate on patients over 50 because there may be conditions that are undiagnosed, but especially if there's a condition that was diagnosed, right? You need to know when to say no. It's not worth your life to look better. You know what I mean? So, but there are patients out there that will shop around for a doctor whose either standards are less rigorous, or they may change their health history or even lie on the intake forms just to get surgery. I don't know exactly what happened with Kanye West's mom, but that's, from the doctors, when I heard about what the surgeon said, it seemed like she had some health issues beforehand. Now, when it comes to aftercare, I think it's a critical component of the safety with any plastic surgery. Not all plastic surgery needs aftercare. Rhinoplasty doesn't need aftercare, but a BBL does. That's a major operation.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that aftercare.
I don't know if the law, should be changed or not. I think that's up to the Department of Health, but certainly I think surgeons, ethical surgeons, should require that their patients have aftercare. My rule is 72 hours, but 24 hours would be the minimum. That someone should be watched by a healthcare professional.
So when somebody gets a BBL by you, they have to stay around for 72 hours. So if I
they have to stay in town for at least a week. I mean, they can't leave town for at least a week at the minimum. And I recommend 10 to 14 days so I can watch them. Now we have, we have an aftercare facility, half a block away in a hotel. We have a suite of rooms. We have a staff with nurses and supplies and everything else. And I live down the block. I could see them in the hotel. I could see them in the office. Everything's kind of here and close. So that's an advantage of, having surgery at a place like mine. But there's other places around the country that do the same thing, where they keep the patients in aftercare facilities and make sure that they're watched.
Yeah. Okay, and then so moving on before we take a couple of questions from our people that's watching.
Sure.
You were I was on your Snapchat the other day. While we have about 800 people watching us right now, so that's good.
Okay. You
So
can see the penis operation?
that's what I was talking about, right? So now men can get their penis longer or bigger. I think I want to get
Bigger,
that
longer.
operation. Like so, but
It,
that looked disgusting.
oh, it's amazing. It's mind blowing. Listen, the doctor who does it out in Beverly Hills, named Dr. Ellis, right? So,
Hmm.
I read about him. I heard him describe the operation and step by step. And then there was one part where he said, I evert the penis. And I'm like, wait a minute,
I
you can do
seen
that?
it.
I'm like, you can do. It like blew my mind. I said, I got to see this. So I flew out there last week to watch him do it. It's mind blowing. I mean,
And
just
it,
like
it got big
he
too.
pulls it inside out, like like a hot dog, inside out. Sews in the implant, tucks it back in.
Yes.
So I think it's incredible. I think that the potential for that operation is no pun intended, enormous.
Right.
It's
Are
just
you
the
going to learn
beginning
that?
stage of technology. I would love to learn how to do that. He invented the implant. He's been working on it for about 10 years. It was just FDA approved in the spring, like April or May.
Uh-huh.
So he's the only one that does it right now. But I mean, I'm down for learning how to do it. I'll operate on some cadavers and practice with him and try it. But
And
yeah,
you'll still be able to get an erection and go to the
I'm thinking
bathroom. You're still
what?
able to do. You're still able to get an erection and go to the bathroom
Oh
normally.
yeah. No, it's a fantastic technique because it just stays. It stays between two layers of fascia. Like so it's underneath the skin but kind of deep, and then it just lays along the top half, top 3/4 basically of the penis, and all the working parts of the penis are on the bottom.
Okay.
The part that gets hard, the part where the blood goes, the nerves, your urethra, where pee goes through, all that's on the bottom, so all that stays the same. And you see at the end of the operation, like flops it around to make sure it's mobile. That it works,
Yeah.
you don't get stuck in one position or anything.
I feel like maybe that should be done. I should probably wait like another 10 years before I decide something like that because he's like the first one. You know what I mean? So
He's the first one. Yeah, no, I'm with you. You might want to wait a little bit, but look, time is short. Life is short. You can't wait too long.
How much? Well, so people are asking, how much is that?
I think he charges $15,000.
$15,000.
Hey, listen, that's like good veneers. I mean, that's
true.
I mean,
all right.
I mean,
so, no. Listen, it was pretty incredible. You guys, if you're not following Dr. Miami on Snapchat, you should follow him. Now, listen, it's some cringeworthy stuff on there. I was literally throwing up, like literally gagging. When did
you gotta have a strong stomach.
Did you ever go through that or no? You just were always able to just look at people.
I mean, I remember even in 7th grade dissecting a frog. Everybody else was like queasy, and I just loved it. I guess I'm missing that like gene for getting queasy. Nothing makes me queasy.
Okay, so all right, Dr. Miami. So now this is the time where we'll try to take some callers. Okay, so
Sure.
Call that number, mute your microphone.
Okay.
And then
I'm calling up right now.
We'll take some calls from the
All right,
people.
I'm calling. I'm gonna let me just step away and mute the microphone here. Okay. I think I gotta hit this button here.
Yeah. All right. Now dial the number 563-999-3658. And you guys can super chat your last four if you guys have a question. Oh, is this him?
Hello.
Hello? Is this Dr. Miami?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So we are going to take a caller really quick. Okay. Let's do this one here. Area code 217, last four 1703. You're live on the air.
Hi, Armand.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Miami.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I have a question for you. Would you
Sure.
take a client that looks like Little Kim? And if you know what I'm talking about her face.
Yeah.
Her face looks horrible. Have you taken clients like that?
Okay, so I have seen clients like that. I don't take on clients like that because that's not my area of expertise. There are people that specifically deal with complicated facial aesthetic surgery. That's not my bag, If I had to, someone put a gun to my head, yeah, I make a game plan and do something, but I wouldn't take that on as a primary thing. You know what I mean?
Now I have a question. As a plastic surgeon, why does her face look like it's so poofy? It's like if you put a needle in it, it's gonna explode. Why does it look like that?
Well, okay.
Turn your volume up, Dr. Miami.
My volume up?
Okay.
But can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So the short answer is that as we get older, right, we lose fat in our face. We lose volume in our face, right? So the skin starts to sag. So what we try to do to, undo that aging process is kind of puff it up either with fat or fillers or something else to try to, tent the skin back up. And sometimes you put too much in and it gets a little bit tight and people say no. And also there's clients that it's just hard to say no to, especially celebrities. They can be very demanding and they're used to getting their own way and nobody says no to them. And with unlimited money and unlimited contacts, they'll find somebody that's willing to continue to do things to them that they think make them look better, but that the rest of us kind of step back and go, maybe she should have stopped a few syringes ago, But she's not the only one. It happens to a lot of celebrities. It happens to a lot of people, in general. And look, in the end of the day, if they like the way they look, that's what's important. You know what I mean? Beauty is a state of mind in a lot of ways. It's about their own self-confidence. If she feels good, and they feel good, who are we to judge them? Beyond that, right?
Now, have you ever had a client come into your office with dents and craters in their body, like someone like, say, T.S. Madison, who looks like she just has fix-a-flat in her ass?
Okay, hold on. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, so I have had patients come in with dents and all kinds of issues. The problem is this, when you inject silicone or other foreign substances into the butt or anywhere, they're very unpredictable. So, like I said before, 7 out of 10 people can do it and get away with it. It looks fine and feels fine. But the other 30% or 40%, the body makes a reaction to it. And that reaction can lead to inflammation, to make it tender, make it red, make it raised. And so the areas where the injections are can look different than the areas around it. And that causes some crazy looking dimpling and weird stuff.
Thank you, caller.
I've seen that a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Brian, we have another one. All right.
Was she not being serious?
No, she was being serious. She was being serious.
Okay,
she was being serious. I'm like, oh, shit.
Right.
917-4973. You're live on the air.
Hi, Armand.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi. So I have 2 questions for Dr. Miami. The first one is, what is your medical opinion regarding longevity? Because we see all these girls running to get their bodies done, and I'm just curious from a medical standpoint,
right,
how long do these procedures last? Do you have to get maintenance? Are there things that you have to worry about down the line?
Yes, and yes. Okay, so as far as longevity goes, obviously it depends on the person, it depends on the operation. But absolutely, it's like a car. It's like you may leave here with a Ferrari, but you still have to change the tires, you still have to change the oil, you still got to take care of it and wash it. And it's not a miracle. Plastic surgery does not stop the aging process cold. So you still have to work out. And yes, for example, like breast implants, right? For a lot of women, 10 or 15 years later, just gravity, maybe having babies, breastfeeding, your body's going to change, and you'll probably have to replace them or lift your breasts or do something. So you definitely, need to think about that when you're timing your surgery. Yeah, if you're going to have babies next year, probably don't do your breasts now. Wait till you're done having kids and then do them, because things are going to change. When it comes to the booty actually ages fairly well. Not really any different than if you didn't have a fat transfer. On the other hand, it doesn't last forever. In other words, your butt will not stay looking like it is at 25, at 65. Things are going to change. And then mainly
so that's why we see like celebrities like having to disappear for a couple months because they're getting their butt redone or something like that.
because we're watching them age in real time. You know, if you know, like we know Kim Kardashian for how many years now, you know, so we've seen her have to go through babies and surgery and all, and so we're seeing the natural aging process. It's not like, the only exception is J-Lo. I think she made a deal with the devil. I don't know what she did.
Yeah, J-Lo looks amazing.
For her age.
She just.
So my second question, Dr. Miami, is this one is kind of less medical, but I am very interested in your opinion because as someone who loves like hip hop culture and Black culture, Dr. Miami, you have infiltrated like the discussions. You really have made an impact in our culture because I feel like you're the one name that everyone always refers to.
Everyone knows.
I know lots of
Thank you.
Songs,
it's my honor. It's my honor. It's really my honor.
Love you. And so my question is, how do you think that procedures like the BBL have affected American culture?
Oh, it's not just American culture, world culture. Yeah. It has come, you know, from an American, let's say, subcultural phenomenon to a world phenomenon, and literally, I have surgeons from China, from the Philippines, coming over to learn how to do the operation, from Australia, Europe, everywhere. Europe is the last to catch on. You know, Europe is like the last place for some reason that is able to like really penetrate, but everywhere else in the world, it's come from here. But you know what? America is fantastic at exporting cultural phenomenon. You know what I mean? Like we set the pace for the rest of the world. And
and I wonder what you think about how like the discussion around like Black women's bodies and how like it seems like there's a phenomenon now where like non-Black women are super passionate about creating that type of shape, as opposed to like, I'm sure like my parents' generation, there was a lot of pressure on women of color to kind of slim down and have the Naomi look as opposed to, you know, the Nicki Minaj look, and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, look, I grew up in the 80s, so I remember the you know, where like the skinny model look was in. I really think that was just a blip on the radar as far as the history of aesthetic beauty. Because if you go back to the 40s and 50s, the ideal shape were these curvy pinup girls, always. Exactly. And if you go back further in history, you know, hundreds of years, thousands of years, all the fertility dolls you find all over the world, they're all curvy figures. There's no fertility statue where that's like looks like a boy. They're all curvy with voluptuous breasts and big. I mean, no matter where you go on the planet. So I feel like the 80s or the 70s was like some kind of aberration, you know. And
well, thank you.
I've always liked curvy women, and my wife's just curvy.
Oh, thank you, caller. Great questions, beautiful questions. Thanks for getting those out. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so speaking of Kim, so Dr. Miami, did you do Kim Kardashian's butt? Can we get a yes or a no on that?
Look, I can't comment on celebrities. I can't. I really. Only the ones that have put their names out there and have attached themselves to my name can I comment on yes or no. Period.
Okay.
Let's leave it like that.
Okay, so you can't comment on that. Okay.
Because there are some celebrities that are very, very open about their surgery, and there are some celebrities that literally want me to, you know, close the office and have them come in on a Sunday up the back elevator, dressed like a, you know, on a gurney, like they're just a dead body coming. I mean, like it's crazy.
And why is that? It's not like we can't tell. You know what I mean? It's like you can kind of tell still. You know.
I don't know. You're exact. I think it's their own hang up. It's just they're in their head. They feel like they're less than because they had surgery. But I think that's silly.
Yeah, a few years back, you got in. You and Nicki Minaj had a little thing because you had a picture of her in your office, and she assumed that you alluded to the fact that you had did her butt, and so you didn't do Nicki Minaj's butt. What happened with that?
No. Okay, so I have a collection of autographs of all kinds of celebrities. You know, from you know Lucille Ball, you know, men and women, and I was going through my autograph picture collection. It's not in the office up on the wall or anything. I'm going through picture after picture, and yeah, I'm a Nicki Minaj fan. What do you want from me? You know?
Right.
So I had that, and And one of her fans saw it, sent it to her, and I guess she was in a bad mood that day. But man, I got dragged big time.
Yeah, but you did the dragging back when they showed that picture of a less than flattering, you know, and then you were like, Nicki, I'm out of town. Actually, I have the tweet. Let me see the doctor. You said, too bad I'm booked till 2019, Nicki.
Well, look, you got to have fun on the internet, right? Right? Come on.
But in hindsight, you guys are good now, right? Everything is cool. We love Nicki here.
We're good. We're good. Everything's cool. I got no ill will. I'm a fan, like I said, a fan. But you know, it's for a minute I felt like, you ever see the movie The Incredibles? You know, where like the villain was like actually this biggest fan of the superheroes,
yes.
But then when they turned on him, he became right. So for a minute I was like, what? You know. I'm a fan of big butt women. What do you want from me?
And then, not for nothing, you said that her butt was the ideal butt. So a lot of people will be like, give me the Nicki Minaj booty. Or do they say, like, give me the Kim Kardashian booty or Nicki Minaj booty?
I mean, for a while, it was 50-50. It was like Nicki or Kim. Those were like the two. Now there's a lot more options, though, because of Instagram.
There's the Black China booty. I'm not really the biggest fan of the Black China booty. It's a little different because I like when the booties match the hips. You get what I'm saying? But when there's just the big booty and the skinny legs, it doesn't really look that good.
Legs.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, listen, everybody has different flavors, you know, whatever you like.
All right, let's take one more, Dr. Miami, and I'll let you go. All right, so we have 3016. You're live on the air.
Hi, Armand. Hi, Dr. Miami.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I have two quick questions. So my daughter watches you incessantly. She's of age. And got me kind of hooked on you, too. Is there a BMI beyond what you would safely do liposuction?
Yeah, so in my that's a great question. In my practice, it's 30.
Okay. And then my other quick question is this. So I'm a woman of a certain age. So I know you wouldn't maybe necessarily operate on me, but if I were wanting to do, you know, either breast augmentation or breast lift, which would you recommend for women of a certain age, one over the other?
So, all right, so breast lift versus breast augmentation with an implant. So the answer is it depends on where your nipples are. Your areola nipple complex is relative to the fold underneath your breast. So once the nipple drops below the fold, and you can just put your fingers underneath your fold and kind of put your fingers on your nipple, and if they don't meet, if they're not like parallel, or if the nipple's below that point, then you need a lift. And if you're empty up top and you don't have enough volume, then you also need an implant at the same time. If, on the other hand, you've just kind of been deflated from having babies, in other words, nipples in the same place it was before, but like it looks like there's just extra skin and the nipple hasn't fallen, then you can just put an implant in. So you can look in the mirror and measure yourself and see which is better. But obviously go to a plastic surgeon and get their opinion too. But it's not unsafe, but it has to be done in the right place. You have to have a proper medical clearance. You know, we talked earlier about Kanye West's mom and the tragedy that happened to her after her surgery. You need to make sure that all your medical ducks are in a row before you have elective surgery after a certain age.
Right. Awesome. All right. Thank you very much.
Is that all you had?
You're welcome.
Well, yes, that's all I had. I'm not trying to do anything crazy today.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Miami, you good?
I'm great. Thank you.
Yeah, we have one. We have a couple more. You just let me know. How much time you got left?
Let me look at my watch here.
We got
maybe it's 6 already.
All right, so we got time for one more?
One more.
Okay, one more. All right. 646-6237. You're live on the air.
Hi,
what's going on? Make it quick.
Hi, Dr. Miami. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm supposed to be going to the hospital pretty soon. I'm calling from New York City. I'm supposed to be going to the hospital pretty soon to get top surgery. Now, what's the difference of double D and triple D?
What's it mean, double D and triple D? I mean, it's the size, usually about 100 cc's of the implant. but it's going to be difficult to go for a triple D right away. You might need to kind of step up because the skin might not expand enough to get that size implant in right away. So speak with your surgeon. Speak with your surgeon and make sure there's enough skin there to get triple D in.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, Dr.
Thank
Miami,
you.
I'm going to hang this up. Unmute your microphone.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
All right, let's see. Hello?
All right, cool. So listen, this was great. Your callers asked really good questions. I mean, they're like thoughtful and they did their homework and they weren't just like, random. That's very cool.
Yeah.
You have a very engaged audience. I like that.
Yeah, they were here. We got about almost 1,000 people on here right now. Awesome. They're really excited for you to come on. And like I said, we have a lot of women that watch. And when I said that we were going to have you on, they were super, super excited. So we're grateful that, you were humble enough to come here. Like I told you before, they didn't hear it earlier, but I've never talked to a billionaire before. You're the coolest billionaire I've ever talked to. So thank you for being
God
so
bless
humble.
You.
All right,
God
Dr. Miami.
You.
See you. Thank you.
You got it. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. That was Dr. Miami. Wow. He's so humble. He didn't want me to acknowledge the fact that he's a billionaire. But he is. It is what it is. He's a billionaire. Shout out to that. What a good show. You guys made me proud. You guys did a phenomenal job with your questions. Listen, this is what I'm talking about, people. Everybody did a good job. Nobody was reckless. Nobody was crazy. You guys made me look good. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? That's how we do it over here. Okay? Yes. Don't thank me, thank yourselves. You guys did a phenomenal job there, okay? This was a team effort. Each and every one of you guys that called in and asked your questions, thank you. So I'm loving you guys right now. All right. So listen, guys, it's only going to get up for here. I want to shout out to his publicist as well. Shout out to Dominic for linking us together, and I think Dominic has a YouTube channel as well. So you guys can follow his YouTube channel as well. Thank you, Dominic, for allowing your client to come here, trusting us with your platform, trusting our platform for your client, and so thank you, and send many more. All right, guys. So, if nothing else, I might come back and do an after show, and we might can get into some things. So, I love you all. Shout out to Dr. Miami. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. You never know who's going to stop in here. And until next time, I want you to keep that same energy, and I'll see you soon.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.